Hello, this is Dr. Gomez from the University of Texas Southern San Antonio, and today I'm going to talk about the use of social media for medical students, in particular when you're kind of at the end of medical school and you are starting to apply to residency programs and you're interested in finding out more about residencies, how to make this an advantage. I am definitely not a techie and I don't know the details about those social media platforms on how to get a lot of followers and how to use it for a business type marketing. I'm just going to talk about my experience with the use of social media, specifically Twitter and Instagram, although there are many others. So what have I learned during the pandemic that has helped me reach out to people that are interested in medical education, and how I've seen residents and students use the platforms to their advantage. So the three most common platforms for medicine and medical education will be Twitter, which is microblogging, just have a limited amount of information that you can post along with pictures and videos. Also, Instagram, which is a picture social media platform, is very popular with residency programs. Most residency programs have Instagram accounts and usually are run by the residents, and they usually do a very good job with that. It's very, very visual. And in YouTube, you can have videos, conferences, educational material from medicine, radiology, board reviews, and also mentorship as well. So these are the three platforms most used in medicine, at least in my experience. So the other platforms used in medicine would be LinkedIn, a professional social media platform where you can find a lot of information, especially of jobs. And there's a lot of recruiters in LinkedIn that will reach you if they have a job offer. And you can post and share some content, but it's not as used as Twitter or Instagram. Doximity is another platform for healthcare professionals. Very popular, and they do produce a lot of very quality content with blogs, opinion pieces. They even have ranking of residency programs and hospitals within Doximity, which a lot of people like to see, especially medical students. They have a messaging system and other tools that we physicians and other healthcare professionals can use. And you can also share some content as well. The last one I'm going to mention is Facebook, but I'm only going to mention Facebook groups and Facebook pages, which is useful when you are in medicine because you can learn education and also share opinions and content about medicine in groups. I'm going to leave out Facebook as your personal social media because I think that, in my opinion, is probably the least useful, and you should keep it for your personal matters. So you may ask yourself, why use social media? We all have heard stories of attendings, faculty, or other people recommending you to kind of shut down social media on your third and fourth year of medical school, because we all have heard stories of programs talking medical students social media platforms such as Facebook to see if they can find any red flags of their personal life, whatever it may be, or to see if they're very opinionated or whatnot. And although I think this is really not appropriate, I think some people still do it. But I do think that if you use social media correctly, it can be a great tool for you as you move forward in medicine. So I think that the best and most important topics that social media can help you is education. There is a lot of learning, a lot of educational information shared in social media. You can network with other medical students, other colleagues, faculty from the specialty you like, program directors, practicing physicians in the private practice societies that you like. All that you can do through social media. Even though it's not as strong as in person, it does work. As also advocacy, you can get involved in advocacy for minorities, health equity, women in medicine, many things that you can get involved that you may feel passionate about. And also mentorship through social media, in particular Twitter. I've been part of several efforts to provide mentorship to medical students, and it's been a very positive experience that has been possible through the outreach of social media. And the most important thing about social media is that it's free. That's likely why it makes it a double-edged sword, And you can do very good things and get a lot of positive things from social media, but it can be as a negative if you don't use it well. But because it's free and anybody can be in there, anybody can share whatever they want, and the restrictions of what you do in social media are really little to non-existent, so you have to learn how to use it wisely. Now I will talk a little bit about what would I do if I was creating a social media account, either on Instagram or Twitter, or if you have one, how would you change it if you just want to make it more professional, if you want to use now your social media to do things more related to your profession. So let's start with the handle, which is the name that you choose that identifies your account and makes it different from everybody else. Common handles will be hard to find nowadays because there are millions of people in social media already and handles don't repeat themselves. But if you can, I would try to keep it simple and short and simple as possible. I will try to say something or choose something that relates to you. For example, I'm a musculoskeletal radiologist, so my handle is skeletal rat. And in Twitter, I use it mostly for professional matters, to exchange ideas that I think are important for what I do as a radiologist. So it identifies me, and I think it's simple and short. Also, stay away from numbers and symbols. You don't want to be perceived as a bot. Sometimes people follow me and their handle is just a bunch of numbers, random numbers or symbols, and I don't follow them because I figure that they're a bot. And everybody wants to follow a real person. You don't want to follow a machine or something that looks fishy or maybe a hacker. So try to be unique if possible. And remember, choosing somebody that relates to what you want to do in social media. So let's continue with your profile. So your profile includes your name, a description, and pictures. There's two pictures, the pictures that usually people put of themselves, the small picture and a picture of a banner in the background. For your name, try to use your full name and titles if you have one, like you see here, me and my full name with my titles. And I will use a professional picture if you want, and try to be your face to be visible so people actually can see who you are. Or if somebody has known you, they can recognize you and say, oh, that is the person that I met in that convention or in that symposium or whatever. And the picture should confirm your identity if possible. In the background or banner picture, most of the people put pictures of their institution, like a banner picture of the medical center, but you can put whatever you want. Some people put landscape pictures, some people just write a banner with something that they do. For example, I have an educational page called MSK Radiology Genius, so I put that. I created this banner with that, and also the logo of my institution that I work for. So try to look personable, and obviously try to look trustworthy. So going on with profile description, you should use your full name and titles, like I said before, and the description ideally should focus on the main purpose of your social media presence. So let's take me, for example. I am an MSK radiologist and a residency program director, and I work at the UTL San Antonio, so I tag them there. And then I say what I'm passionate about, which is image-guided MSK interventions, education, inclusion, sometimes fitness, and Puerto Rico. And if you follow my account in Twitter, you realize that 99.9% of what I post is related to these things that I write in my description. And I do it that way so when people visit my profile, they know what I'm here for. And if you follow me, this is what you're going to get from my posts, things that are related to my passions. As a student, you can say MS4 and that you're an aspiring radiologist or an aspiring dermatologist, whatever it is that you like, and talk about some of your passions, maybe equality, image-guided procedure, whatever it is. Some people put hashtags and disclaimers in their profile. I don't think they're necessary, but you can do that. Like, tweets are my own, my tweets don't represent my institution. I guess it's a good disclaimer to put there for out for people, but it doesn't legally protect you in any way. So if you get sued, I don't know why you would get sued, but a lot of people think that that's going to defend them in a court of law, and it won't. But it's good to put that what you're tweeting here is your personal opinion. And I guess it goes away and saying, well, I don't want to offend you. This is my personal opinion. I'm trying to represent anybody else. Something that has worked for me very well is using cross-platform posting. So I have accounts in Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and I have some actually some groups and pages in Facebook that are educational. So what I do is that in the link that I can provide, usually for a website, in your description of the profile, I use Linktree, and Linktree is a free platform that you can use and sign up. And when you click that link, it takes you to a very simple page. And like, for example, for me, you can go and click and it will take you to my YouTube page, my Instagram page, my educational Instagram page, personal blog, even a podcast that I have. And then I have some clicks here for the residency program that I work for, and the Instagram and Twitter of our residency program. So that has helped me a lot, because not all the things that I want to share I can do it on Twitter. So sometimes it's good for me that people can find me in some other platform. So I guess this, if you want to have a more comprehensive presence on social media, but I think that using cross-platform is very good, because not everybody uses the same platform to get their information. So in my opinion, there are two sides of social media, and ideally a balance is better. So you either sharing content, you're producing content and you're sharing it out there for other people to see it, either to learn, or because you want to advocate for something, or because you're trying to give recommendation. You have to create that content and share it. Or you're in the side that you just want to receive content, you just going through the feeds and trying to learn something from people, try to figure out what's going on in the world of medicine. And ultimately, probably the best is having a balance between both. But I think you can do anything you want. I think it doesn't matter if you want to share content or receive content. It is really useful to be able to be present in social media. So if you want to share content, which is actually difficult, creating content that people want to see is not easy. And the first thing you need to do is just try to figure out who's going to be your audience, because you got to be consistent in the things that you post. For example, for me is education in MSK radiology, like this post that has some imaging and some learning material for, like, let's say a radiology resident studying for boards, mentorship for medical students applying for medical school for a residency, because I'm a program director, and advocacy. So I know that is the audience that I want to reach. So I try to create content that is relatable to these things that are also on my profile. Random content really is hard to follow, and people kind of don't necessarily are going to follow you. You're not going to create a big audience if people don't know really what you're there for. So it's important that if you want to grow an audience, if you want to do that, to try to identify an audience and then just create content that is relatable to them. Like, think of who you follow and why. You follow people that post stuff that are relatable to you, to what you do. And if you follow somebody who's a comedian because it's funny, you follow him because of that. But you tend not to follow people who post random stuff and there is just no organization in what they do. And thinking like a business, if you're sharing content and want to grow a business, you actually want to do stuff that people want to see. It's just as simple as that. Some people want to grow their audience because they want to have a presence in social media, but they don't want to create content, either because they don't have the time or they just are shy people, or whatever the reason is. But you can also share content by retweeting, which is just sharing stuff that other people have created. So you can retweet a lot of good content that people want to see, and it actually builds an audience for yourself. For example, this is a retweet from somebody in my institution, so I retweeted, and I added my 2 cents when retweeting. So you can retweet without saying anything, or you can add your opinion. And I actually try to add some words just to come across like I'm engaged, and why is this retweet important to me? Even though I didn't create the content, I'm retweeting it to make sure that people understand why I think this content might be interesting to you. Remember that if you don't post anything, you're pretty much invisible to others. Nobody's going to really follow you if you're completely quiet in Twitter or in Instagram. Also, you can start following people, and some people may follow you back. Like, I pretty much follow everybody that follows me, unless I think it's a bot. So that's another way to do it. But if you don't post anything, you're invisible to others, which may be important to you, or it may not, but that's your choice. Another way to share content, and even if you don't want to create it, is to stay engaged with others and what people do and post. You can engage in conversation that speak to you. This is an example of some conversation of equality, equity, and inclusion, and you can get engaged here and just share your opinions and thoughts with other people, as long obviously as you keep it professional and respectful. Comment on other people's posts. You can give kudos to other people for their accomplishments, other people that work with you or colleagues that you know. That's a good way to stay engaged and share some type of content. And always tag others that may be interested in a topic that you're posting about. I tag people that I think are going to find it engaging and a positive thing. I don't try to over tag people just because I don't know if they're going to be upset that I'm tagging them. But if I know that they like and they stand for the things that I'm posting, I usually tag them. And it's a good thing because it amplifies your audience and you get to reach more people. And sometimes you tag people and they retweet what you posted. And the use of hashtags is also important to people who are looking for that specific topic, be able to find you much easier. So if you're on the other end, you really are into social media to receive content and learn from other people, and you're really not that interested in sharing content, that is totally fine. I think that you can get a lot out of social media just by learning and just seeing what's up and what people are posting. You can learn a lot about medicine and all the specialties. You can stay up to date with all things in your specialty. It's really going to come in handy for when you're preparing for interviews of residency program, because you're going to be up to date with what's going on in your specialty. For example, for example, in radiology will be artificial intelligence. There's a lot of information that is posted by experts in the field, and you can kind of get a good idea of what really is going on in that topic. And advocacy, and you can actually tell what people feel passionate about. If you follow a program director and you're going to interview in that residency program, and that program director is an advocate for minorities, well, you know that's something that you guys can talk about and that you guys can have in common and have a conversation that appears to be very engaged. So you can get information about events, virtual town halls, national conferences, mock interviews, initiatives, a lot of things that you can take part on, and you can get the information here in social media. Sometimes I'm mentoring students and I say, look, get in Twitter, because there's a lot of things that happen there and a lot of opportunities for you to participate and get involved in our national societies that you wouldn't know otherwise. So it's a good way to get information. Obviously, you will have to follow the societies or people that usually put these things out, but you can get a lot of information. Again, prepare for interviews, very important. You can get to know people, what they're talking about. And also mentorship. Through Twitter, I've mentored a lot of people from radiology and outside, and I think that's a big positive. So there's nothing wrong with just receiving content. Make sure that you follow the people or hashtags that are important to you to get all that information that will prove to be very useful at the time of interview or at the time of applying to a residency program, or even in getting involved in national societies. So a little bit about hashtags. Hashtags, what it does is allow cross-referencing of content. So you can follow a hashtag. If, for example, future RadRes, which is future radiology resident, if you follow the hashtag, you can see what has been posted related to that topic in specific. And if that's really important for you at that moment, you could follow the hashtag. So if you want, that's why people hashtag, so they can find them easier, and also for you to follow them. So I try to do hashtags in my post of the things that I'm talking about, so the people who are trying to look for that information can find it easier. These are the most hashtags that I use. So hashtag MedTwitter, hashtag MedStudentTwitter, hashtag FutureRadRes, hashtag MSKRad, and MedEd. For example, MedTwitter and MedStudentTwitter are big hashtags, so there are a lot of posts out there, and MSKRad will be a little bit smaller. So the bigger the hashtag, well, the bigger the audience. So you have to keep that in mind, but they're really important because it just really filters what you see and what you want to get out of social media with hashtags. So I guess this is the most important slide in terms of medical students and social media, is how to behave and professionalism. And I'm really going to talk here about my experience as a program director Like if I'm there looking at Twitter, what kind of would raise my eyes and be like, well, do I want to have this medical student in my residency program? So, I mean, a lot of these things are subjective. You can't control bias of people, but you just try to do your part so it remains professional. So try to keep it professional at all times. Think of your account as an extension of an interview. If you're thinking that you're going to go to a job interview, think about what you would say in an interview. Well, that's probably what you should say in social media. And not, if you're not gonna say stuff in an interview that you'll be like, oh man, that's too personal. Well, you shouldn't do it on social media either. It's obvious that once you post, it's in the cyber world forever. You can delete it, but it's still in there. Somebody may have recorded or took a screenshot. So just consider it like, am I sure I'm going to post this? Because it's going to be there in the internet world forever. So sometimes, especially if it's an opinion, I write it and I save it and I think about it and before posting. And in any case, I try to stay away from opinions. But if you are, just try to be very conscious about it. I would stay away from politics just because everybody has their political opinions, and you're gonna change nobody political inclination by the things that you post, and it's just gonna give you 5 seconds of satisfaction by venting, and that's it. And I also will stay away from extreme or heavily controversial topics. I mean, it's just, you want to keep it professional. You want to learn from other people and people to learn from you about medicine and the things that you do. So I will stay away from very controversial topics as a medical student. Never insult anyone or anybody, like, posting something like, oh, I hated my surgery rotation, it sucked, or trashing people. I will stay away from that if you can. It's just, I think you should try to keep it positive. So, myself, I never insult anybody or anybody, and I don't talk negatively about anybody, any institution, or anything. I just try to keep it positive. Also, you may post something that happened to me that some people out of the blue start writing negative comments after you post something that you thought it was very neutral. And what you need to do in that case is never engage any of these people. I mean, it's just let them write whatever they want, and if you engage them, it's gonna get worse. And it's the way it is. It's like if you have a business and somebody give you a bad review, if you see that the owner engages that person, it just gets worse. So I just don't engage trolls and people that have just come to your account to just give negative comments. Don't vent your personal problems. You don't want to be the person that's going to post something like, oh, you're going to pay for what you did to me after you broke out with me, or you cheated on me. All that stuff, just leave that. If you want to do that, just keep it on Facebook or Instagram and make it private. That's what I would do. But this is not a place to vent your personal problems. And remember, you can't control the bias of others. It would be extremely cool if everybody would have the same moral compass as you, but some people have biases that they can control. That's why it's called unconscious and implicit. And you don't want to give people, excuses to think one way or the other about you. That is not your ability to do work. Take care of patients, learn, and take ownership of what you're going to do in your residency program, obviously, because this is tailored for medical students. And also, you're not selling any product or a superficial image of yourself. You're selling, again, what you can do. So, think about that. You're not really out there to people to buy makeup or anything like that. So all these things that you need to keep in mind. And if you stay away from all this, I mean, you're going to really have a good experience on social media, and you're going to get a lot more out of it than any harm that it may cause you, which I think it will be nullified if you actually do how to do it correctly. Just to finish up, there are 2 tools that I use a lot that may be helpful for you if you get involved more in social media, and that's the Creator Studio for Instagram and Facebook, and the TweetDeck. In both of these platforms, you can do it in the desktop, and it's easier to post content, especially if you have videos or pictures. For example, in the TweetDeck, you can schedule a tweet. Also in the Creator Studio, you can follow a hashtag and you get notifications. And same in the Creator Studio, you can do all that, and it's easier. A lot of people, sometimes I'm working in the reading room and a post comes out in Twitter, and the resident one time asked me, how did you tweet at that? I mean, you were right here next to me. And it's because sometimes even in those weekends, I schedule like posts for the whole week that I want to share, and then I don't have to think about it, and they're automatically post. So that's something that is useful if you actually want to be able to share content and get something out there. You can schedule this, and these tools are really useful, the Creator Studio and the TweetDeck. So here are just examples of pages from several social media platforms that you could, this is just examples, but these ones I think they're very useful, and it's just to give you an idea why social media can be so powerful. A lot of you follow, American Radiologists, which is a private group in Facebook, and it is really, really a good group that share a lot of like ideas, information, from private practice academics, what's going on, complaints, sometimes, opinions about papers. So, I mean, it's a lot of good exchange of information and ideas in this group and Facebook, but it is a private group and it has moderators. So, they moderate what you can say or not. This is just my example. I have a Facebook page, same as an Instagram, called the MSK Radiology Genie. And I just post here just educational content about MSK and nothing else. And a lot of people find it very useful. And if you go to my page, either on Instagram or Facebook, you just can find all that educational content. And if you're rotating through MSK or studying for the boards, it may be useful for you. But there are just a bunch of other pages from many other specialties. Then in Instagram, there are a lot of educational pages. This is MSK Education. This is by Dr. Davis, which is MSK radiologist and fellowship director, works here with me. And he, as you can see, he posts very, very quality educational content that it takes you very little time and you can learn a lot following that. And a lot of YouTube pages. Here's the Jasha Gupta. She is really into a resident. She's a radiology resident, and she's really into medical education and mentorship. And she has a YouTube page where you can find videos with interviews and content that she produces to help medical students navigate rotations, the interview process, application process, and all that. These are just a few examples, but just so you see how helpful social media can be if you actually use it responsibly. So I appreciate your time. I hope you learned a little bit about what I think about social media as a medical student and how can it be helpful. I am not a techie, so I can't really comment on how to produce the most amazing content and all that, but I just would like to see you opening a social media account and getting involved, and I encourage you to do it because I think it's going to really be very helpful in your career. Thank you.